Things are going to get incredibly weird in the next few years of video games. Trust me. Everything you know about gaming and how you've always grown up with it and what you consider to be actual competition, in my opinion, is going to change drastically within the next few years upcoming with the next generation of consoles. Well, if you even want to call them that in the first place. You see, on this channel, we've been documenting all the insane things happening in gaming, not only in terms of insane corporate greed, but also in just the hardware itself and what gaming is going to be doing in the future. You see, I talked about this almost ad nauseum. We're no longer part of the console wars, where fanboys will sit on Twitter and talk about how many sales their favorite plastic box sold, trying to validate their own sense of purchase. What we're going to be moving into now is going to be the platform war. You're going to be seeing every single company where they're going to be trying to compete for your actual dollar, not by locking exclusivity behind an actual plastic box, but by trying to go through and provide either better content, better services, or even better devices overall, with true competition for the actual customer and consumer. No longer trying to use UVPs or unique value propositions to coerce you into buying a $500, dare I even say $750 plastic box to go ahead and play one or two games and then lock you into that ecosystem. And what's going to make things even weirder for next generation is that there's going to be another player in the game. That's right, baby. It looks like Valve may be the 800-pound gorilla that none of these companies wanted to see. According to WCCF Tech, new Valve hardware, potentially including the highly anticipated Steam Frame VR headset and a new Steam controller, could be announced as early as Wednesday. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm also one of those psychos that bought a Steam controller on its first release and even the original Steam Link. Yeah, I still have that. Now I just put it to the side and basically use my Steam Deck on my TV for my console gaming in the living room, which is really funny because it turns out that Valve may in fact also not only be working on a new controller and also a new VR headset, but they may in fact be working on a form factor PC for the living room as well. And that's going to be a huge set of competition. Remember, we talked about platforms. That is the ultimate PC platform right then and there. You're looking at a company that has 20 years of proven track record to have a completely dedicated base of users. Hi, I'm one of them, to go through and earn that trust completely, and then at the same time provide a better experience overall, while also seeing Xbox and PlayStation put all of their games onto the Steam storefront and PC gaming as well. Everyone talked about how it's impossible to play PC games in your living room, even though Valve has been doing it for about 10 plus years already, and so many others as well. And the crazier part is it looks like the controller design itself may have already been leaked. According to Brad Lynch on Twitter, the new Steam controller will look like this when it launches. I'm told that it can also detect how far your hands are from the handles using a simple cap sense feature, similar to the Index controllers, but not full finger tracking in the grips. Brad also continues by saying this: yes, it's an AI slop photo trained on a real image of the new controller. It was just fast and easy to do it this way. I was not going to post the original one just in case it reveals any sensitive info from the source. Now, if you're not aware, every time Valve does something in terms of the hardware space, things can get incredibly competitive. The Steam Deck itself had an incredibly competitive price point and had multiple updates throughout its entire lifespan, making it, honestly, in my opinion, the de facto handheld right now for PC gamers. Even though the Xbox ROG Ally X is far more powerful and provides a better punch, the fact that Steam right now on the Steam OS is lighter, better, faster, stronger, work it harder, make it better. Sorry, I had the ADHD going. It's going to show that right then and there, Steam has a massive leg up. And if they can work through and get a lot of the issues completed with anti-cheat, with things like Ricochet and even TPM support for that, you're going to see real competition in the gaming space moving forward, especially if the rumors are true of Valve putting out a new console-like device or a form factor PC for the living room. You already have Steam Big Picture mode available, and it runs like an absolute dream, especially on a big screen TV. Valve is 90% of the way there. All they need is the hardware left to do it. And that is going to be a really insane thing to see. And I'm very excited about what'll happen, because it turns out that Valve stepping into the space may be the kick in the pants that Microsoft needs to get their shit in gear. According to Hazardor Gaming, Windows Central stating that Xbox is preparing for next gen with a ton of new Xbox GDK dev features, working to boost how Windows handles HDMI, video game shaders, and all sorts of additional things within the Xbox PC ecosystem. Now, absolutely now, we are finally cooking, ladies and gentlemen. One of the biggest banes in PC gaming has been shader compilation stutters. And if Microsoft can find a way to fix that, that's going to be actual competition for other PC platforms like SteamOS and even Bazzite and Linux for that actual user. Because what you're looking at now is having a better experience overall on that platform. And Microsoft and Xbox said it themselves, they wanted to make Windows the best place to play, and they already fired the first shot with the Xbox ROG Ally X. We've talked about how Microsoft has said this is the basic idea of what they're looking for, and even though I gave this a pretty meh kind of okay review, even though the price point for me is the biggest drawback of the entire thing, if you're not someone who wants to play around with Linux or even understand what's actually happening, they're not doing a half bad job with this. They could be doing an exponentially better job, but still, things could be looking in the positive space for what Xbox is trying to do. And it finally seems like someone put some batteries in their back, because it looks like they're going to be working through and fixing a lot of the problems that is happening with PC gaming in the first place, since they are in fact making an Xbox PC console. And that's going to be wild to see as well, because it looks like other people are following suit with that too. But let's see what some of those big factors and changes are, because that's going to be real interesting. Jez Corden's article starts like this. Last week, we revealed that the next Xbox is essentially going to be a PC, and that the Xbox Ally Windows 11 handheld is a, quote, test bed of sorts to figure out what aspects of the OS need to be improved for that universe. Microsoft is working to boost how Windows handles HDMI, video game shaders, and all sorts of additional things within the Xbox PC ecosystem. On the flip side of this effort, Microsoft is also working to improve the experience for game developers with a big October 2025 update that doubles down on unifying the Xbox and PC game development experience. Here's an overview of what's new. Before we get into all of that, let's talk about that little last sentence that we saw at the end of that paragraph. Unifying the Xbox and PC gaming experience. One of the biggest criticisms that I've had with Xbox in general was the Xbox PC app, how it really just does nothing in terms of an actual console user base or a console user moving to the Xbox ROG Ally X, or even trying to get more into PC gaming as well. I even said in my own review, if you haven't checked it out, please do so. You can find the link to it right here, that in the actual system, what you're seeing is that you're better off, instead of using Steam Big Picture mode on this device, instead of Xbox's own proprietary app, and that is a massive problem. On the other hand, though, the more that I think about it, when they talk about unifying the console and PC user base, what's the one thing you always tend to see with a lot of video games in the Xbox platform? Games missing on the console space, but also being on the PC. Games being money-hatted from the Xbox console, but yet still also releasing onto the PC. Xbox could have effectively just removed the entire idea of exclusivity on their own simply by unifying those two bases, especially for developers. Why would developers not want to put their game onto an Xbox platform when basically, if you're going to put it on PC, it's going to work on the Xbox PC hybrid console anyways? That's kind of scary when you think about it. And if they can pull that off, all those stupid fanboy list wars you see online, well, things are going to be changing now, aren't they? The article continues by saying Microsoft's new Game Input API unifies all keyboard, mouse, Xbox gamepad, and even custom controller models into a single unified interface, which Microsoft says is designed for, quote, low latency and thread safety, including render threads with both polling and event-driven callbacks. This new API brings the Xbox's keyboard interfacing into full parity with Windows and should allow developers to deliver a more consistent keyboard, mouse, and gamepad experience across devices on a single code base. It reduces headaches for Xbox playing our games, much like this next feature. Remember when I talked about this monstrosity of a controller? Yeah, this really fixed a lot of issues with input and also with the Steam UI, especially for games that needed mouse and keyboard support. If Xbox can make it happen on their own controller device and Steam can actually make it work on their new Steam controller as well, you're going to be seeing actual competition in the user interface space, making things easier for game developers to go through and say, well, we don't have to worry about X input or direct input. We can just go through and just apply any sort of controller layout that we need, and their UI will take care of it for us. That's going to be a huge thing overall, because it'll make any person with any controller and any user interface be able to go through and play any game. And that was my big problem with the ROG Ally X, not having any trackpads on it. And I couldn't really play a lot of mouse and keyboard games like Fallout 1 and 2 without enabling gyro for mouse pointer precision. Those kinds of things are a huge factor. And it sounds like Microsoft is not only looking at it from the consumer perspective, but also the dev one. But it turns out things may in fact get even crazier. Microsoft also announced PlayFab Game Saves a short while ago, and it's essentially an extension of its Xbox Cloud Saves feature, bringing Steam to the party too. Some games like Baldur's Gate 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 support cross-platform save files between PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and so on using bespoke systems. Microsoft's PlayFab Game Saves is offering to take some of the load off developers handling save file progression between Steam, Xbox, and other ecosystems on their behalf. This service handles file sync and conflict resolution, supports offline play, and is currently available in the preview via the PlayFab Game Manager. Now this is incredibly cool. If Microsoft and Xbox can pull this off, you can go ahead and have your saves cross between Steam and also between Xbox as well, and carry those saves over back and forth, basically negating any of this issue people were having with where should I play my games, whether it be on Xbox Game Pass or even on Steam, giving more access and more use to the actual player themselves, and even taking the load off the actual developer from trying to figure out how to sync those save files in between each one. Right now, for games like Baldur's Gate 3 and for Cyberpunk, you have to basically sign in to that actual launcher to then have that cross-save functionality in between each platform. But if Microsoft can pull this off, then you can see, hey, I can get the Xbox, still play all my games on Steam, and then also have that save cross between each other ones and not have to worry as well. So if the game leaves Game Pass for whatever reason, I can buy the game on Steam, have my save carry over, and not have to worry about anything on that space. Now that is what we're talking about, baby. That is actual pro-consumer movement behavior that I've been dying to see for the longest time. Right now, to get a Game Pass game save or an Xbox PC app save, to pull that out of your back end and put it into Steam to make it run is a nightmare of epic proportions. But if it can go back and forth and Xbox pulls this off, you're going to be seeing a different space altogether. And what I really want to see is if it'll go the other way as well, if SteamOS can do that with Windows too, because right now you can't have the Xbox PC app on Linux. So boys, you know what my suggestion is, Microsoft, Xbox, and Phil? Put that Xbox PC app on Linux. Do it. Trust me, you're going to have to do it at some point, because if Steam gets in the space, you're going to have a hell of a time trying to compete with them too. The article also continues by saying this: in the latest GDK, developers can now declare ARM64 and x64 attributes within a single build, enabling native ARM device performance within a single package. Microsoft has been gradually working towards native Windows gaming on ARM devices, and this seems to be part of that effort. Microsoft has also now surfaced the Xbox API for developers who want their games to be able to call into the Xbox authentication and social features while being installed on other platforms like Steam. Developers might want to use this to support cross-platform co-op sessions on PC and other devices, or indeed between Xbox consoles and Xbox PC in the future. Are you picking up what they're putting down? I am. I absolutely am. What you're looking at right now is the ability to finally have cross-platform, cross-play, and cross-functionality no matter what device you're on, no matter what platform you're on, simply because you're using Windows as the actual basis. That, my friends, is true competition. Now you're going to be able to say, hey, look, I've got my Steam console, I got my PS6, I got my Nintendo Switch 2, and you got your Xbox PC. It doesn't matter what what device you're on, it doesn't matter what platform you're on, Microsoft is trying to handle everything on their back end so that way every single person, no matter the platform, can actually play. And that's what's going to guide users to that actual platform. We've heard really dumb things from people that don't understand PC gaming saying shit like, if you allow Steam on the Xbox, then nobody gonna buy game on the Xbox. Well, nobody buys games on the Xbox PC app now anyway, so what does it really matter to them? And they still somehow make a ton of money off Windows. Gee, I wonder how that happens, my boys. Look, it's really wild to see that the fact that Xbox moving into the direction of a pure PC or a PC hybrid, which in reality, it is just in fact a PC because that's what consoles are. They are form factor PCs with their own little dedicated OS that's siphoned off now. They're basically x86 pieces of CPU and GPU, and they're all made by AMD. So hello, they're not special anymore, boys. And it's really wild to see people trying to put like some sort of like unicorn dust inside of it to make it sound special. Remember the entire like PS5, my SSD and my quacking capush and technology? Yeah, that's going to be playing again. But right now though, the real issue is going to be how Microsoft and Xbox can provide more for users to go into that ecosystem, to go into Xbox as well, instead of being dragged into Steam and other places. But even in that space, what you're looking at is Xbox putting their game everywhere. So in fact, it really doesn't matter. If you buy the Xbox game on Steam, they still get your money, and they're still going to sign you into Xbox Live to play multiplayer and cross-play and cross-functionality. So guess what? That's an Xbox now. If you do it on PlayStation, same thing. Guess what? You're an Xbox gamer now. They are literally trying to put their tendrils into everything. And people not realizing this really are just stuck in the 90s and 2000s of what video games are. Things are going to get even crazier and wilder, as what you're going to be seeing is everything and everyone signing into Xbox themselves or being a Microsoft account, making Windows, in fact, the place to play. And that's an incredibly scary thing to say, especially with how great Linux has been doing right now. Again, the biggest competition is not going to be between Microsoft and TikTok or Microsoft and PlayStation. It's going to be the platform between SteamOS and Windows. And people are looking at things way too small and too small of a scale, because that's going to be where the real fight's going to be happening. But it looks like PlayStation may also be joining that front too. Because there was an interview recently with Mark Cerny and Digital Foundry, and here's what Mark Cerny had to say. Digital Foundry asked Mark Cerny, do you think of the leap from PS5 Pro to upcoming hardware as more of a progression or a step change moment in how developers make games? With Mark Cerny replying, we've shifted our focus substantially. In the past, we were largely creating custom technologies just for PlayStation platforms. But now, with Project Amethyst, we're placing substantially more of a focus on co-engineering and co-development with AMD on their roadmap hardware and libraries. That change will have a very large impact because when developers can create their technology with the understanding that it will work across multiple platforms such as desktops, laptops, consoles, etc., there will be much larger pickup of new features. So I believe we'll see outsized impact from the technologies announced this past week. Now, here's the thing. All of my viewers, all of you, okay? Anyone watching this video, you're a 10 out of 10 and you're a 200 IQ individual. Don't let anybody else tell you less. I know all of you caught those very specific words said by Mark Cerny, and that is going to be the funniest thing of all, as watching the entire collapse of what people consider to be gaming in the past now completely change and morph into something totally completely new. Cerny even said in his own statement, in the past they were going through and making dedicated hardware and technology. Now, with their work with AMD, that technology and hardware is used across a ubiquitous set of platforms like consoles, laptops, PCs, and etc. They are putting their games everywhere. If Helldivers 2 on Xbox didn't convince you, I don't know what will. If the breadth of PlayStation games that were exclusive on the actual PS4 and PS5 on PC didn't convince you, I don't know what will. If the fact that Microsoft is moving to the actual stage of Xbox PC as a hybrid and PlayStation being rumored to launch a PC app, that tells me one thing. If PlayStation does launch that PC app and they put their games on their day and date or day and date on Steam, then you as a customer and consumer have true competition on where you want to buy and play your games. And if the actual cross-buy functionality is correct, then what you could possibly see is you buying your games digitally on the PlayStation Store, installing them onto your Xbox PC through the PlayStation Store app, then using that app to play your PlayStation games on your Xbox PC, or even doing all of that as well on your Steam console that's going to be announced as well on Wednesday potentially. So who honestly knows? Providing true competition for the actual user and actual choice. No longer locking games behind a bespoke piece of hardware. Now going to the user and saying, hey, look, here are these devices. They play all the games. Pick the one that's going to fit the best for you. You don't like Windows? Here's a PlayStation 6 or a Steam console. You don't want to deal with Steam or that, and you already have Xbox games? Here's your Xbox PC. Now you can play everything on there as well, because they all put their games on here too, because Windows is what we're using. That's where this whole thing is going. It's going to be a platform war, and the people that are going to benefit the most are going to be you, the actual consumers that buy and play video games, because now they have to compete with each other directly, not just by locking away exclusivity, but actual competition with good hardware and good services to entice you to go ahead and buy your games there. That is real competition. That is incredibly exciting to see, that finally Microsoft could in fact be putting batteries in their fucking back and doing something good for the gaming user. It just took Steam to go through and take away a massive amount of users away from them to finally get something done. And then Steam launching their console could in fact bring so many other people into the Steam ecosystem and saying, hey, PC gaming isn't even that bad, and start moving into that space too. And even on that end, Microsoft could in fact be taking shares away from Nvidia. Because according to WCCF Tech, Microsoft has reportedly developed toolkits to break NVIDIA's CUDA dominance, slashing inference costs with AMD AI GPUs. So now it looks like that partnership with AMD that Microsoft talked about a few months back, that could be deeper than people actually realize, and things could be getting really weird for the future. But I have to say this, if these things come into place, and if this is how things are going to be, I'm incredibly excited to see what happens, because that could be the one moment where people can finally talk more about playing video games than about console warring. But we know what's going to happen though. It's just going to be, my platform is better than your platform. And it's never really going to end. But don't worry, I'll be here to catch all those clowns, because that's my job. But anyways, though, I want to hear what you guys have to say about this in the comment section down below. Are you excited for these ideas? Are you not excited? Do you want to see something different as well from Microsoft and Steam and even PlayStation? I want to hear what you guys have to say. If you want to see more of this kind of content, though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and even live streams every Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to this channel. We're on our way to 97K, and I just want to say thank you guys so very much. If you want Discord access or emotes during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's only $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just show up Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on this channel, as I wear a banana suit, use AI TTS to get insulted by 700 people, and then also change my voice as a Dami Mommy with a voice AI modifier. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!